What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and I'm here with
Gershwan.
We're back at it to answer your questions in another episode of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the greater. That hurt.
I can't remember where that's from. Yeah. This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get those questions first.
Or if you have the answer to where that's from, put it down below.
Yes, because it's going to bother me the entire time.
And I'm not going to tell them.
Dave Chappelle, maybe? A skit? Okay. This question comes from Soul Survivor. What if the Silent King found one of the Primarchs as babies? For all those newcomers to the Warhammer 40K lore, let's explain what the Silent King is. Yeah, who he is. Mm-hmm. So basically, back 60 million years ago, what would become the Necrons, they were called the Necron tier, they were organized into an empire where there was one king and he spoke to two other guys, and then those two other guys would
They were his mouthpiece, essentially.
Yeah, and they called him the Silent King because he didn't speak to anybody in the empire except for those two guys. He was basically the ruler. He was like I think that's the same thing happened to the Japanese emperor, right? Like, nobody was supposed to talk to the Japanese emperor. Like, other people would talk to him, but whatever. Mm-hmm. He leaves, or he's the reason why the Necrons became the Necrons. It was him who okayed the biotransference of their souls.
You're right. Basically, the Necron tier was plagued with pretty much cancer. Mm-hmm. They had really short lives, and even though they had really short lives, they built an empire of immeasurable technology and stuff like that. Yeah. So obviously the Silent King was we could prosper even more. And during this time, they were in a war with the Old Ones. Yes. The war in heaven.
They are the creators of the Webway. They were there before the Necron tier, but they were almost... Well, I would say that they were more powerful than the Necron tier. And the Necron tier were fighting them because they were jealous, like you said. And the Necrons had no ability to use psychic powers. They decided to get the one-up on the Old Ones by siding with the Catan, and the Catan wanted their souls. The Silent King gave the souls of basically all his empire to these Catan in exchange for immortality.
Yeah, ever-living bodies.
And the destruction of the Old Ones. The Old Ones didn't... The Old Ones ended up creating the Orcs, the Eldar, all that kind of stuff. And
Blackstone fortresses too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And then maybe yes, because it might have been created by the Eldar, but I don't know. So after that, the war was going on, and all these psychically powerful races that were being created by the Old Ones to fight the Necron menace and the Catan ended up creating this enslaver plague. These entities from the warp came out, basically just exploding out of the heads of these psychic, powerful Eldar and Orcs. And then the Old Ones, they had to leave because they were psychically powerful and they were going to get consumed by these enslavers. And then the Necrons essentially won, kind of.
Yeah.
But then the Silent King, this is taking it back to the Silent King, he was upset at what he did to his people. Mm-hmm. Because nobody except for Necron Lords have their own minds. Everybody lost their minds, their souls. So he was so upset that he just left.
Right.
And he left the galaxy, and he told all of his empire to basically go to sleep and awaken when the enslaver plague is over. Now, fast forward to the monkeys evolving into humans, and the Emperor and the Primarchs.
It's heresy. Obviously, it's God created humans and Adam and Eve.
Actually, the Old Ones might have created the humans, maybe. But okay, so then that happens. He creates his Primarchs. Two of the Primarchs are either lost or damned. The lost one, it would be interesting to see the lost one actually be in the hands of the Silent King. It would be hard to tie that in, though, to the Silent King. Just because the Silent King, when he left the galaxy, on his way through basically a void, a vast void, he encountered the Tyranids. And he got so spooked not because it was Spooktober, but just because it was Tyranids, that he came back into the galaxy to warn his people and get his people ready because the Tyranids were coming.
It's not that the Tyranids can eat Necron, because obviously they have no biomass, but they're a huge threat to any life.
Yeah, because if they're going to consume everything on a world, the Tomb World is part of that. So, but then that goes to the can Tyranids consume or whatever.
Yeah, it's another tangent.
And now, the Silent King is supposed to be back. We don't have a model for him. We have very little lore on what he's doing in the galaxy. Could he have one of the Lost Primarchs? I mean, it's 40K, so yes, the possibility is there. But it's hard to tie the Silent King and a Lost Primarch together. Because of the fact that like the Emperor and the other Primarchs had to have met this Lost Primarch.
Because he was in their records. He was fighting alongside them.
Yeah.
There are statues and plinths of the likeness of these Primarchs. So it's not like they were lost and the Emperor never found them.
Yeah, a way you could twist it to actually have the Lost Primarch actually get connected to the Silent King is that the Lost Primarch encountered Necron technology like pylons and stuff, and he had the foresight, like a lot of Primarchs did. They had like divination powers to understand that chaos was going to be the biggest threat. So he might be seeking out the Silent King to try to convince him to use the technologies that were gifted to him by his own, or they weren't gifted to him. They were just that smart, right? The Necrontyrs just created these pylons and maybe use that technology to like patch up the warp rift that has been created that this Primarch could have foreseen.
Yeah.
But that I feel like that's kind of twisting the lore a little too much.
Right, because even though, I mean, that would be a good direction to go, but at the same time, it's like these pylons were strong enough to contain the Eye of Terror. This tear that has split the galaxy in two is massive. So that would take something of like the entire Necrons rising up to basically seal this gap in the galaxy. And would the Necrons really want to do that when, as you've said before, the Silent King's main threat is the Tyranids?
Yeah. So yeah, it wouldn't really match up. But it would be cool. Mm-hmm. That's really, really the only thing that I can think of. Because he couldn't have found him as a baby.
Right, like when Chaos originally spread them, that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't think timeline-wise it would make sense because the Tyranid threat was
not there.
Well, I mean,
well, it was there, just not in. It didn't. It wasn't a principal threat at that point in time.
Yeah. And obviously, like, then that means that the Emperor and the Silent King had to have, like, come face to face at some point. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they would have fought each other. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, these two behemoths of men could come together to form an alliance. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But I do, like, for my own fan lore, I do kind of mix in the Necrons with the 11th Legion that I'm making.
Because of the Catan?
Yeah, so basically, give you a quick story summed up short. My Primarch found a tomb world. They found a Catan shard entombed in there, and they saw the power of the Catan. So now they're on a hunt to gather a bunch of Catan, go invade Terra, use the Catan shard of the Void Dragon to basically take control of the Golden Throne and use its power to resurrect the Emperor. So at first, they look like they're the bad guys because they're basically assaulting their way to Terra using Catan shards that they've hunted down.
Xenotechnology.
Yeah, Xenotechnology. But it's for the resurrection of the Emperor. And he's doing this to basically atone for his sins that weren't really his sins to begin with. It was a misunderstanding. But yeah, check out the 40 facts on the Celestial Sons. I do have a playlist going called the Codex of the Celestial Sons. So check it out. I go way more in detail with that. But that's kind of tying in Necrons, Catan, and all that stuff to the 11th Legion, the Lost Legion.
That's really it showcases how you can twist pretty much anything in 40K. And yeah, that's a perfect example for that. I think that's the intention that GW has for the Lost Primarchs. It's for you to just be crazy and try to come up with like cool lore stories, and then tie it with kit bashing and doing badass things.
Originally, that's what I was gonna do: buy a whole bunch of Necron bits and put them onto my guys.
Space Marines. Yeah.
I don't know why I never did. It should.
Oh, it's expensive.
It is. Yeah, buying a whole Necron like unit just to like rip it apart.
Yeah. Next question, we're going to keep it with the same topic of the Lost Primarchs by Mystical Mojo. Could Sly Marble be a Lost Primarch? Now, even though we just said that you can mold pretty much anything in 40K, in this situation, no, you can't, because it is like the story of Sly Marble is, check out our 40 facts on Sly Marble, but basically, you know where he comes from.
Right.
Catachan.
He's a Catachan. He's a human.
Yeah. So, and that's what makes him badass. Because I think the worst thing that the worst things that can happen to a badass character in any genre is to just make him more than he is. Like Superman, the guy. Like, that kind of sucks. Because it's like, if he's just a human and he's just a really badass guy, and then all of a sudden, it turns out he was an alien and he was naturally this powerful. That kind of sucks. It kind of like brings down the badassery.
Because everybody likes an underdog story. And then you find out, oh, they were the gifted one. They were the chosen one from the prophecy. Then it's like, oh.
Yeah.
So he didn't really achieve this by hard work. This was fate. Putting their hands on it.
Yep. Good question, though.
Yeah, very good question.
Next one.
This one's by the Mandela Bird. What happens if a rogue trader finds a Death World or a Pharaoh World, and then soon after a Space Marine chapter decides to make that their home base? Does the rogue trader have to hand it over? Does he haggle for it? Or does the Greater Imperium have to get involved?
They haggle for it. He has the right, by the Emperor, he has that little like slip, I forget what it's called, but to barter with the Space Marines, and he might be able to sell it to them.
You don't think they'll just be like, no, this is ours, and then just go obliterate them?
That's a possibility depending on the chapter, but if you have if you have a chapter, I think Space Marines are not the type of people that just be assholes just because they want to be assholes. I think Space Marines are the type of people that like, we want this world for this very specific reason, like whether it's strategically or it's strategically a really good planet, or whether like the people that are born in there have like some type of badassery about them. They're never just gonna like do someone bogus just for fun.
Right.
So I think the rogue trader would also notice that, like, oh yeah, like if I want this sector to be okay, having a Space Marine chapter there makes it okay.
It's more in his benefit to have. Basically, it's like saying, oh, I live next to an army base.
Yeah, and I know like the main person in command, or the main people in command, and you have to remember that with rogue traders, it's a lineage. So how badass would it be for a rogue trader to be in connections with this chapters,
right?
And then like later on, his offspring, if they ever come into trouble, they can just call up the chapter and be like, hey, remember how my great grandfather gave you that forge or that planet? I need your help. We're gonna get invaded by orcs. They appear.
Yep.
So, building rapport. Next question.
This one's by Nick Stansberry. Didn't Horus, Alarius, and Karn have an encounter with Malkador about the destruction of the Primarch statue on Earth, after Malkador was ordered to destroy it and purge the information? Aren't they lost and they were excommunicado?
I don't know that specific scenario. I haven't read the books. Is that all his question?
Yeah, he has like ... so I don't know if there's more to your question. But yeah, I'm not too certain as to what exactly you're asking.
But what we can speak to is that yes, the other Primarchs did fight alongside or just were around the Lost Primarchs. Did I say that right?
Right. I wouldn't say all of them, because I know like Alfarius and Omegon were like the last ones to be found.
Yeah.
And that might have happened after the 2nd and the 11th were already Edict of Obliterated.
But yeah, it's so yeah. There is knowledge of the lost Primarchs, but because of that obliteration of all data, that happened.
They say it's supposed to be all likeliness, all symbols, insignias, but obviously you still have the plinths.
Yeah.
You can't like brain wipe everybody.
Right. And those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, comment down below. If you guys enjoy us taking a little bit more time to answer one question, like more thorough, like we did in this video, let us know in the comment section below. Otherwise, we'll just go back to just quick answers, trying to get as many of you guys answered as possible. Just vote in the comment section below.
Yeah. Put in vote and then your vote.
Your vote. And we only read the... And
yeah, that's all we got. Don't forget to check out the Patreon page. We got a Facebook page. Spooky stuff is coming for October. Check out the creepypastas.
Yeah.
This is the Sound Alchemist.
Gershwan.
We are out.
Oh, I did put my